So, the question is, can employers refuse to be vaccinated? And the answer is yes, the employees can refuse to be vaccinated. The National COVID-19 Immunization Program, PICK, has been ongoing since 24 February 2021. The Malaysian government that is managing PICK stated that the COVID-19 vaccination will be administered on a voluntary basis and is provided free of charge to all citizens and non-citizens aged 18 and above residing in Malaysia. It is also pertinent to note that the Malaysian government has not made the vaccination mandatory, and the World Health Organization does not envision in making the vaccination mandatory for all countries. With the lack of legislation and statutes in allowing vaccination to be made mandatory, employers may violate an individual's right if they impose or mandate a vaccination. This is because imposing and forcing medical treatment on an individual will be considered as trespass to person, which is known as the basic principle in common law. It shows that in common law that all adults can either consent or refuse any medical treatments or procedures. And in most common cases involving medical treatments, battery will be considered as administering medical treatments to an adult who is conscious but without his consent. The COVID-19 Vaccine Supply Access Guarantee Special Committee JKJAV has been told by the previous Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin to study in making the vaccination mandatory in Malaysia. The Malaysian National News Agency Bernama has quoted that Muhyiddin Yassin in saying that this matter has to be considered if the number of registrations for vaccination remains low or fails to meet the government's target for herd immunity, which is 80% of the population or 26 million citizens with 2 doses completed. In Malaysia's Federal Constitution, Article 5 Sub 1 has stated that no person shall be deprived of his life or personal liberty in accordance with law. This means that the individual's freedom will be protected from any unreasonable doings and one will not be imprisoned or detained without any good reason. So logically speaking, an individual is able to make their own choices, which shows that there is no right or wrong in refusing the vaccination that is not made mandatory. Under Section 11 Sub 2 of the Prevention Act and Control of Infectious Disease Act 1988 has stated that the Minister may, by regulations made under this Act, prescribe the measures to be taken to control and prevent the spread of infectious disease within or from an infected local area. An infected local area is declared if the Minister is satisfied that there is an outbreak of an infectious disease or that any area is threatened with an epidemic of any infectious disease under Section 11 Sub 1. It also shall be lawful for any authorized officer to direct any person or class or category of living in an affected local area to subject himself to treatment or immunization under Section 11 Sub 3 Sub A. Under these circumstances, the government may implement COVID-19 vaccination to be made mandatory. But even so, if the COVID-19 vaccination is made mandatory in Malaysia, due to the circumstances that we have just mentioned above, the delegated legislation made by the minister might be unlawful and it can constitute to ultra-virus.
Employers are unable to compel the requirement of employee to be vaccinated unless there was a condition or terms that has been stated in the employment contract as when hiring the individual. However, it can be argued that if an employee refuses to be vaccinated, that he or she might be subjected to an act of insubordination. Any punishment that has been given by the employer to the employee that has rejected vaccination must be reasonable. For example, the result of an employee not being vaccinated may affect the business to not operate. Not to mention, employees are able to opt out the vaccination due to any medical, religious, or safety reasons. Employers may even manage the situation by requesting some evidence in support of the reason to not be vaccinated. Evidence may come from requesting a letter or certificate by a medical practitioner. If an employer feels that it is important for the employees to be vaccinated, they should have a consultation with their employees and organization's trade union in discussing what steps they should take in terms of this situation. Any decision that has been made should be put into writing of workplace policy. There are also some special circumstances that can be put into consideration, and employers in a high-risk industry such as care homes or hospital may compel its employees to get vaccinated, and the employee's failure to comply with such an order may be faced with the punishment of dismissal. However, cases like this cannot be applied universally for all industry. Furthermore, if the employer's instruction to get vaccinated is even lawful and reasonable, and employees refusal to comply with the order may not warrant dismissal, as employees might have contraindicate or complicated medical histories that will put them at health risk. In the journal article titled "In Support of Jobs for Jobs," proposals from the Department for Health and Social Care (DHSC) in England have required care home providers that are looking after adults the age of 65 to deploy only those that have already received the COVID-19 vaccination. The Secretary of DHSC also has said that making vaccination a condition of deployment is something that many care homes have decided on in order to provide greater protection over the employees and residents at the older people's care home. The government also respects and recognizes that some individuals choose to not be vaccinated even if the vaccination is clinically appropriate for them. Under this circumstance, these employees will no longer be able to work in a care home setting. The Malaysian government can take the initiative to encourage the healthcare industry to take vaccination. The reason being the healthcare workers are more prone to contracting the contagious COVID-19 virus. This is because the employees are encountering patients most of the time, and this will increase the risk of them contracting the virus. The journal article above would be a great example in giving a direction for the Malaysian government to deal with vaccination. This initiative will be able to show greater protection for the patient and employees in the industry, not to mention everyone around them. So we will continue to the next major discussion presented by Mr. Ong.